Hi there, and welcome back to my Stellaris Let's Play Advanced Strategy Tips and Tricks. This is part 2, and today I'm going to be looking at the initial tradition picks and initial ship design, and I'll also briefly be touching on leader selection, combat statistics, and initial admin capacity. We're going to pick up the campaign from where we left off at the end of the last video. I hope you enjoy it. Right then, so we have our colony ship being built at the moment. That's going to be finished quite soon, and as soon as that's built, we're going to send it over to this star system, whether or not the star base has been constructed yet. And we'll start constructing the star base as soon as the planet has been fully surveyed. So 240 days until the research lab is built. Let's increase the speed to fast and we'll get going. We'll also queue our scientist up to explore another system for after it's done with this one. Now we've got enough unity to buy a tradition. So at the beginning of the game, some traditions are much more powerful and much more useful than other traditions, and those would be traditions like expansion, which really help with your initial colonization attempts, discovery, which will help you with surveying the galaxy, as well as giving you bonuses for research speed and leader experience gain. On the other hand, traditions like prosperity give you percentage increases, which in the beginning of the game tend to be quite small, but in the mid game and the late game, a 5% bonus to specialists, extra mining station output is really useful. Supremacy, that's a fantastic tradition if you're going to go to war. As well as that, it's also quite good for unlocking the supremacy diplomatic stance. Because at the start of the game, we start in expansionist stance, which is helps our colonies develop faster and decreases our outpost build cost. But as the Galactic Senate is formed, you want to be taking a diplomatic stance that will maximize your diplomatic weight in the Senate. So the first tradition we're going to grab is the expansion tradition, because that's going to increase our colonization speed. After that, we want to make sure that we get the colonization fever perk before our first colony finishes is ready, because that will give us an additional population, which at this stage is equivalent to a 3 to 4 year head start because of the various modifiers and penalties that initial colonies get for population growth. So let's press play again and we'll keep going. Now at this point, just so I don't forget, I'm going to unemploy my bureaucrat, and he will sit generating a bit more unhappiness, but using less consumer goods.
Spaceports sustained damage.
So now we've also had right. So what we really want to do is make sure that we have a leader assigned to this fleet before the combat starts. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sell some food, so I've got the right number of the right amount of energy, and I'll select my fleet. Now with selecting leaders for fleets, generally you want to pick the youngest leader possible, especially a leader that will live for a long time, because the longer a leader lives, the more experience they gain, the more chances they have to get traits. So in this case, even though the aggressive trait's quite good, an extra 5% fire rate and 10% speed, this leader is both the youngest and has resilience. So they're going to live for 105 years. That's another 75 years before any bonuses. So that's a really good leader to grab. And once you put them on a fleet, even if they're not in combat, they will be leveling up. They'll be gaining experience. So let's resume. So our fleet and the starbase should be fighting them together. And now it's always important to look at your fleet combats to see how they're doing. Sometimes it's okay to look afterwards, but it can be useful to look during combat. So we can see from this that, importantly, the enemy fleets only managed to do 69 damage to our hulls, whereas we've been doing 297. So our damage output to hulls is massively more than theirs is. And that'll be mainly down to our starbase here, which is oh no, it's not. No, that damage is just from our mass drivers. Fantastic. And lasers. But we should easily win this. Yeah. So if we look at the combat statistics, bring them back up. If we look at this combat statistics output, this gives quite a comprehensive rundown of what's going on. And it's actually quite important to look at these when you're playing single or multiplayer after you've had a battle, an initial battle or an engagement with another race or another civilization, because this will show you how well your ships are tooled for fighting your opponents. These percentages down here are just your average efficiency at dealing damage to those specific systems. So the hull, the armor, or the shields. As we can see here, our evasion is actually pretty low at 9% compared to theirs at 20%. So they had much higher evasion than us, but we had a starbase which managed to do massive amounts of output to them. Yeah. So let's just get on with this.
Situation log updated.
But now our colony ship is ready. So let's move our colony ship over to here. And we'll actually make sure that it moves all the way over to the world we want to colonize. An important thing to do after a battle or an engagement is make sure that your fleet returns to a starbase to repair, but also a starbase which has the crew quarters module, because this crew quarters module is going to reduce the upkeep of your ships by 25%. So that's not just the energy, but the alloy upkeep as well. But first, we're going to make sure that we do this research project.
System survey concluded.
Yeah. And so the system's also been surveyed, so we're going to go and select our construction ship, and we'll start building a starbase there. Now our colony ship is still going to take 150 days to arrive at its destination, JAP 3. So that's why it's important to get things moving, to get things in motion, because we actually won't be able to colonize that system until 2202. So we'll just view the progress of that special project. Here we are. That should finish in just under a month. And then after that, we'll be moving our ships back just to make sure we are getting as much money as we can. We're not wasting money on these ships, not wasting resources.
Special project concluded.
Brilliant. So now we will repair the fleet. And I'm just going to jump in now and look at this colony ship and make sure it colonizes the planet, because we're almost done with our starbase. It's ticking up nicely.
Construction project
There we are,
concluded.
completed. So Let's colonize the planet. And actually, we'll use 100 minerals to build a mining base there, because that has 7
Initial colonization phase commencing.
no, there's nothing else there. So what actually I'm going to do is I'm going to build a second science ship in our home system, because now we're going to be looking for a second colonizable world. And as you can see, we've grabbed 4 researchers, and our research income's at 95. That will have reduced the amount of time it takes to complete these technologies. Quite a lot as well. What I'm going to do now, as you can see, we've got 33 population. That's because we completed the district. Sorry, not the district. We cleared the tile blocker that gave us an extra population. So we've so far it's 2202, and we've already gained 2 more population than when the game began. Oh no, 1. Sorry, we're about to gain our second in a few months. But let's make sure our science ship is going out to look for that second habitable planet. And we'll also employ a scientist on the other one. So at this stage, we still want pretty much the youngest scientist we can get our hands on. But actually having a survey speed bonus will be quite useful. So I'm going to grab that one. And I'm still going to set to explore, just so we can look through these systems for the habitable planet. And as soon as we get up to 400 minerals, I'm also going to be building another research lab. That will increase our research production even more. In this game, I'm not going for an alloy rush, so to speak. I'm definitely going for more of a tech rush. And as you can see, we've gone over our Empire Sprawl now, 41 out of 40, which seems like a problem. It's in red. That's unpleasant. But it's back down to 40 again now, but it was at 41. That was only a 0.05% decrease to our research speed, which is, it's barely noticeable. And let's just move this ship back over to this planet, because we want to increase our mineral income if we can. And we also probably at this point should think about building another colony ship. So what I'm going to do is sell a few hundred food, and I will buy 50 consumer goods, and I will buy more alloys as well. So we can now build a second colony ship, because we know there is a habitable planet out there. I mean, we've actually got this Alpine world, but that's only habitability 50%. Fantastic. Oh, is that another Alpine world? That's another Alpine world. Well, that's good. That's still a planet. It's not quite the planet we want. We need to look for our Arctic world. And now we've got another tradition. So as I said earlier, we're going to unlock the new colonies to get an additional pop. And as you can see, we've only got another 2.5 years until our first colony will be completed, which is it's good going. That'll increase our production in the long run. Well, let's commission our second colony ship. our scientists will retreat and it'll be all right. So I'm just going to quickly touch on ship design at the beginning of the game. So at the beginning of the game, you start with auto-generate designs enabled. If you want to design your own ships, you have to disable that, which I've already done. And you can only design corvettes and defense platforms at the very beginning. Now, there are three ways of really designing your corvettes. You've got the missile boat hull, the interceptor hull, and the picket ship. At the start of the game, most AI races don't tend to run picket ships. Most AI races tend to run interceptors or missile boat ships. If you take into account the fact that the AI isn't running picket ships, running missile boats as a player is a big advantage, because you can specify the weapons to do the maximum output possible. So if we use missiles and mass drivers together, you can see that the mass drivers are going to deal additional damage to shields, but they'll have a penalty against armor. Having said that, at the same time, the missile launchers will be able to completely penetrate the shields. They'll do regular damage to armor and increase damage to the hull. So while the mass driver is firing, that will reduce the shields. While the missile is firing, that will be reducing the armor, meaning you'll be getting as much out of the efficiencies here as you can, because the mass driver won't be shooting at the armor, it'll be shooting at the shields first. Another point is, at the beginning of the game, the ships tend to be displayed with 2 shields and 1 armor. Now it's really quite good to swap that around and have 2 armor and 1 shield. The reason for this is that you have excess power. So as you go through technologies, you're now not desperate to upgrade your fission reactor to a fusion reactor. You could upgrade the computer, the weapons, the radar systems, the thrusters, because you've got excess power. So I'm going to save this as Corvette because I'm just creating one design. I'm also going to save it under the auto upgrade option. So that means when I research technology, it will be automatically upgraded. I won't have to keep coming back here and looking at what my ships are. So I'm also going to upgrade all of the ships I've currently got to that design. And to do that, I'm going to delete the automatically generated design, so the computer will retrofit my ships here. So I'll click the upgrade, and they'll now be queued to upgrade in my home starbase. Fantastic. Yes, so as you can see, technology cost increases by 0.12, which is really not very much. And now we found the Arctic world. It's over here, so we're going to survey that system. We're also going to survey the adjacent system. We've got a little bit of time and money, so we're going to build an extra mining base because we're trying to to build up our economy. Okay, well, that's where I'm going to leave part 2 of our video. I hope you've enjoyed the content, and I hope you found something interesting in here. Like, subscribe, and leave a comment if you enjoyed it. And any feedback would be really welcome.